Oh my god.
No, now you're going to hit record.
Mind blown.
Yeah, I am recording now.
Okay, thank you for the warning.
And chewing gum. Do you think they're going to be mad?
Yes. I can hear it very loudly.
You? Oh no. Okay, I'm glad.
We can.
Glad I know that.
Yeah.
Ew. Because I couldn't hear it, so I wasn't sure if
I can hear it every time you like roll it in your mouth.
Okay.
Like that.
I need to spit it out then, because I can't stand that sound. I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay.
It sounds really... No, we understand.
We get it.
The haters would have come for you, you know.
We just
First
went to lunch.
sniffling and then gum.
Oh my... If you chewed gum through a whole episode, they'd be coming for us.
I would be very unhappy if I listened to a podcast and someone was chewing gum, though, too. I hate the sound of people chewing.
I know, but don't justify their hatred.
Ugh. Ugh.
Healthcare horrors. Murder.
Welcome back to another episode. I can't even do it. I can't do it with a straight face.
You started off well.
And now it's all just going to go to shit from here.
No, it's okay.
Welcome back to another episode of Healthcare Horrors. And Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Yeah, we're into
2023.
You said it. I'm Ashley, a brand specialist.
I'm Alicia Carosella, your training and development specialist.
And I'm Dolan on the knobs.
It's true.
Not just a bass player.
Also a drummer.
And a knob guy.
No, I'm not a drummer. I
Past
can
tense.
play drums. There is a big difference.
Okay,
Yes,
I guess. I bet if you sat at a drum set, you'd be able to pick it up pretty quickly.
I could. And I have.
So you're a drummer.
All right, moving on. Today we're going to talk about Shiro Ishii. But who did we talk about last time?
Last time we talked about the Lance Angels of Death. And yes, today is going to be all about disease and biological warfare.
Which was not what the Lance Angels of Death was about.
No.
They were about injecting and, yeah, not good stuff.
Babies. Yeah, if you want to hear all about that, you got to go listen to that
No,
episode.
it wasn't babies.
No,
It
it wasn't
was
babies.
old people.
It was, yeah, they were mad at old people.
Oh, the next
The episode
we talk
before
about.
that
Yes.
was about babies.
Thanks for reminding me what we talked about, you guys.
It's been a minute since we recorded.
We got it. It's been the holidays. We had a couple weeks off, and here we are.
I was testing you.
Yeah, in case anybody didn't know, we don't record these consecutively back to back to back every day. Like we take
Yes, we do.
we take time off.
No.
It's our day jobs.
It actually is part of our day jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We are lucky in that way.
Yes. All right, so Shiro Ishii. We haven't talked about anyone from Japan yet, so
Nope.
here we go. Do you want to take it away?
Yes. Yes, so Shiro Ishii was born on June 25th, 1892. He's a Cancer. So he's nurturing, sensitive, compassionate, and the negative side is that connection doesn't come without its negative side, and he's moody and snappy.
So literally a cancer.
Yes.
Dun, dun.
So, Shiro Ishii was born in Shibayama in Chiba Prefecture, Japan, the fourth son of Katsuya Ishii, a local landowner and sake maker. The Ishii family was the community's largest landholder and exercised a feudal dominance over the local village and surrounding hamlets. The young Ishii attended Chiba Imperial School in Chiba City and the fourth high school in Kanazawa, Ishikawa Prefecture. He's a teacher's pet and said to have a photographic memory, able to recite difficult text and from cover to cover in one reading. So, super smart.
I wish I had that in school. That would have been nice.
My cousin, he actually could do that with encyclopedias when he was little. It was crazy.
What? Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
I think we recruiter John Weiss can do that.
That does not surprise me.
He has a photographic memory.
Well,
So
if he can pick up Arabic,
yeah,
Let's ask
that
him.
makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Huh.
So some of Ishii's classmates said that he was brash, abrasive, and arrogant. In 1921, he was commissioned into the Imperial Japanese Army as a military surgeon with the rank of Army Surgeon Second Class. In 1922, he was assigned to the First Army Hospital and Army Medical School in Tokyo, where his work was super impressive to his superiors and got him able to return to Kyoto Imperial University to pursue a postgraduate medical schooling in 1924. Part of his studies were about him growing different bacteria pets in petri dishes and his odd practice of raising bacteria as companions rather than as research subjects made him notable to the staff of the university.
Yeah, hello.
Hey
Weird.
guys, do you want to meet my pet bacteria?
Yeah.
His name's
Petri.
Dawn.
Dawn.
You get the irony there, Dawn dish soap.
Yeah,
Dawn.
yes.
We got it.
Okay, cool.
Lovely.
He did not get along well with his classmates, and they would become infuriated with his pushiness and indifference. One of his mentors, Professor Ren Kimura, recalled that Ishii had an odd habit of doing his lab work in the middle of the night using laboratory equipment that had been carefully cleaned by his classmates earlier in the day. And then he wouldn't clean them when he was done. So they would come to class and be really mad when they found that the laboratory equipment was dirty the next morning. So he's kind of an odd dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then just in 1925, he was promoted to Army Surgeon First Class. So he's a captain in the Japanese Imperial Army at this point.
Yeah, he accelerated very quickly in a lot of his academics and in the war. I am going to rewind a little bit to April 1918. So while he was at Kyoto Imperial University, the Spanish influenza pandemic hit Japan really hard, especially where he was at. And this kind of really sparked his interest even more in bacteriology and pathology. He was amazed by the spread and the mutations of the virus, along with how desperate everyone was and how much everyone turned to doctors for a cure, and that just kind of
Fed his power.
Yeah,
hunger.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
I could see that. That's probably why he ended up turning petri dishes into pets.
which somehow got him praise from his professors and stuff. I don't understand.
So weird.
He
Kind
was
of
very
odd.
passionate.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yes. He also excelled by courting the university president's daughter. So there was that. And then...
Does that usually help or hurt?
I think in this case it helped him.
Huh.
I don't know how he was in swooning her. I didn't really get that deep into the relationship. But
I mean, if he was as smart as he is, right?
He would play his cards right.
Right. Well, and also probably the president of a college would be smart boy with my daughter. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking in old times, right? Because this is
Well, even nowadays.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he definitely got up there quickly with all of the instructors and university professor and administration and everything. But yeah, his classmates did not like him very much at all. So yeah, and then it was 1920. He was 28 years old. He graduates from Kyoto, and then he enlists in the Imperial Army. 1922, he's assigned to the first med school and hospital in Tokyo, and then completes his training as first lieutenant. Again, just moves up really quickly. He also loves the luxurious lifestyle, partying, drinking, and the occasional prostitute. So also at this point in time, so that's 1921. At this point in time, World War I already happened, and the war just also further sparked his interest in biowarfare a little bit. Yes. Okay, so he joins the war. He's out of the war. He goes back to school and declares his focus on bacteriology and pathology and viral transmissions. He ends up going on a research mission to Shikoku Island to do research on a newer disease in the area that quickly reached epidemic heights. Also in this area, the water is contaminated not with the disease, but with meningitis. So this place is just not ideal to be in.
That would be terrible water to drink.
Yeah, not good. So there's about 3,500 people that died during this epidemic while Ishii is there. And he and his team figure out that it's a virus that's being spread by mosquitoes, so that further leads to treatment. Not only does the team figure out, that it's a virus and everything, but Ishii figures out how to fix the water situation. So he revolutionizes a filtration device for the contaminated water and how to strain bacteria. And that is just a game changer, especially in war, so they can have clean water.
So it starts off good. It always starts off well.
Yeah, he's definitely a smarty pants, for sure, to say the least. So to further solidify his reputation, he returns from this mission and ends up marrying the university's president's daughter. I did not take down any names because I figured I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce them.
I don't know his wife's name, but his daughter's name is Harumi.
That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
In 1927, he graduates again with a PhD. He's 35 at this point, and then he goes back to the military once again, where he's stationed at the Kyoto Army Medical Hospital. And you said he was, at this point,
Army surgeon first class.
Army surgeon first class. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So at this point, Ishii has really expanded research and is interested in conducting human experiments. Well, he wants to, but he can't quite yet. So he's interested in venereal diseases. At this point in time, it's before penicillin. So he starts kind of experimenting a little with venereal diseases, like inducing fevers, which kind of help not cure the diseases, but I don't know, helps them a little. But then like whoever he's experimenting on will have a relapse. So he's like interested in how the body is reacting to a fever in terms of the disease. There's definitely a lot we could get into with Shiro Ishii, but for time's sake, we'll definitely skim through some stuff. So he's interested in human experimentation. In 1927, there is an article written by a Japanese lieutenant, again, I didn't write the name down, regarding a treaty proposed by the League of Nations banning the use of chemical and bioweapons to help prevent pandemics and epidemics. And this treaty is signed by over 120 countries, including Japan. So that kind of puts like a break into what Ishii wants to do.
I was going to say, because in World War I, right, biological and chemical warfare was mostly used by the Germans. They would do things, no, not the case?
That's World War II.
World War II.
Yeah, World War I, the Germans weren't involved. Like Europe, Russia, U.S., the Turkish Empire.
So that part too.
and we'll get to World War II, but Japan was an ally with Germany.
In World War
II.
I'm gonna look this up.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure in like World War I.
I'm all for fact check. Like, no, I could totally be wrong.
Like World War I, Germany is the one that like started the viral chemical warfare, because this is like 1920s, right? World War One?
World War One was 1914 to 1918.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And World War Two was 40s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did things like, because chemical warfare and biological warfare wasn't big enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so Germany's involvement was like sending horses that were infected by different things. And they would like send them into wherever, and then a bunch of people would die. And I think it was like World War One was like the first like major war where civilians civilians were being targeted by countries like this, and they would like send rats in with different
which
bacteria.
they still start doing that more.
Yeah.
But okay.
I don't know. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong,
Germany was
I'll cut that out.
in World War One.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
yeah, I'm
right.
pretty sure Germany was like they were like the big biological chemical warfare.
Of course they were.
Yeah. Of course they were. But I mean that was before like Hitler and all that stuff, but like
Which we'll get into a little bit.
yeah.
Just a little.
Just a little.
But okay, good to know. Yeah, I honestly did not know that. The more you know. Cool. So yeah, that 1927, that's when that article came out, and Ishii was upset that he couldn't, further his experimentation in biowarfare. So he wants to try and change military officials' minds, and they're not really for it until he decides to travel for 2 years to other Western countries to see if everyone is really following the treaty. And of course, he comes back saying, no, not everyone is following the treaty. Not everyone's not interested in biological warfare and all this stuff. So 1937 to 1945, and we start getting into World War II, there was a war between the Japanese Empire and the Republic of China. Japanese invaded Manchuria, I don't know, people prefer to pronounce it. This was in 1931, and then they changed the name to Manchukuo, which led to Japan being even more in favor of Ishii's insights of human experiments in biowarfare. And their unit was called Unit 731. So Ishii has always been very assertive and constantly increasing his ranks in the military. 1931, they start a biological warfare program, and he's still like culturing lethal pathogenic bacteria, still interested in bacteria and his little pets, I guess. He discovers viruses like anthrax. And then, so the reason I mentioned Japan and their war with the Republic of China was because they take over Manchukuo, and this is where they gain a lot of their subjects for experiments, and that is where they decide to start the Epidemic Prevention Unit Lab, which is an ironic name because it sounds like that's something for good, and it's where they decide to start experimenting on people.
Over 10,000 people they killed with their experimentation.
Jeez.
They did bubonic plague attacks in Chinese cities.
Yeah. Jeez.
Nitty gritty. So this lab, 10,000 people, this lab was big enough to house prisoners that came in by the train loads, and they would feed the prisoners well and keep them healthy just so they could purposely deplete their health as they experimented on them. So yes, they would extract and inject people with the bubonic plague. They would drain people of blood to see how much blood cell deprivation people could live through. They would inject them with cholera, typhoid, smallpox, and other bacteria that cause dysentery.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's just some of what they were doing. They would also experiment on how the human body did against certain impacts and explosions. Obviously, there was electric shock therapy, or not therapy, but how the body would withstand to electric shock, frostbite, vivisections. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Vivisections, which is basically surgery or dissecting of a living organism. So on people, they're dissecting while they're alive, because if they would give them anesthesia, that would affect the body in a certain way that wouldn't be natural, you know?
Yeah. Well, and to kind of go back into that, that's like such a huge jump 10 years later from, or 20 years later, I guess, because when was it? Like, all that stuff really started hitting hard, like 1932, 1933.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, so in World War One, like 1918 or whatever you're saying, right? Their form of biological warfare or experimentation went as far as like, let's feed these rats some rotten cheese, get them sick, and then just release them and then see what happens. And yeah, so now that they're actually experimenting with like cholera and bubonic plague, like that's a big jump in 20 years.
Isn't it quite interesting how one human being can change and alter the course of history in this way? Because,
yeah,
I mean, without him, it would have taken so much longer probably for
to figure that out.
These things to be realized.
Well, and when you have a backing, you know, somebody to give you money and do this,
That's what I said. It takes a special person.
Lots of money.
Not very good.
The life expectancy at this lab was about 30 days, too.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You can't see my eyes right now, but goddamn.
So there was a point in time where about 20 prisoners did escape. So that was when Ishii and the whole lab decided that they wanted to ensure their security and secrecy. So they decided to move to a more remote part of Manchukuo. So to help hide things, they even told the locals that they were starting a new lumber mill, and they even dehumanized their subjects by just calling them logs. But how do you confuse a lumber mill with like a people mill? A lab of warfare? I don't know.
I mean, if they were that secret, right? Like, who knows?
I think people are just minding their own business and probably know not to
go sniffing,
look in that direction unless they want to end up there as a log.
Well, and I don't think many people were involved in what was going on in Japan beforehand. Like,
no, probably not.
You know?
Which is an interesting point that I'll get to later, too. So Ishii also helped control the construction workers for this lumber mill with heroin-laced cigarettes. And at this point, Ishii would film some of his experiments. He'd document his results with a diary and even had some students along for these experiments. And for the most part, the subjects were grown males, but some of them were female, some of them were children, especially when it came to researching venereal diseases and STD transmissions. Sometimes, like, you know, forcing sex, and then if a female got pregnant, would that disease transfer to the child? Things like that.
Wow.
Gross.
So full-term pregnancy just to see if the disease transfers to the child. That's...
Yeah. Josef Mengele was kind of doing the same sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I know, these war crime individuals.
Yucky. It's yucky.
At like the same time too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Josef Mengele, that was all happening very close together.
Yeah, he was a Nazi surgeon as well. So I'm not saying that Ishii was a Nazi surgeon, but yes, all in the same time frame. Ishii claimed to be doing anti-epidemic research, but it was definitely quite the opposite of what he was claiming to do. His next step was to actually finally engage in some biological warfare. So he planned to dump typhoid-infected barrels of sludge into a river that was the main water source for the Soviet army. So first attack of biowarfare, and it kind of backfires because this plan ended up killing more of his own men with typhoid. Not exactly sure how. I don't know if maybe they weren't clean when they were filling barrels. I have no idea. But it ended up killing more of his own men. 1942, so at this point, World War II is in full swing. Japan is an ally to Nazi Germany. They decide to drop deliveries of fleas to spread the bubonic plague, and even claiming to administer shots. I think this was more in Germany. They would like have doctors quotes go around door to door saying they have cures for these diseases of the war, but really they would inject people with like more disease. I don't know if that was really happening in Japan. But they would fill clay bombshells filled with fleas that had the plague. So kind of like the horses.
Yeah.
Only bombs.
They were doing that with they wanted to do that with the fleas in the U.S. It's called Operation Cherry Blossoms at Night.
Yes. And I don't think
And it didn't go.
Yeah, they didn't get that far. Because Ishii's war efforts were expensive, and that started getting negative attention from the Imperial Army. So yeah, Operation Cherry Blossoms at Night would have been the Japanese military attack on the U.S., specifically Southern California.
Yep, the West Coast.
And in these war efforts, it just killed more of his own men. It was very expensive. So Operation Cherry Blossoms, they were going to, I think, have an aircraft release from a submarine to drop these bombs.
How do you have an aircraft released from a submarine?
Exactly.
Well, it didn't happen because Japan surrendered.
Yeah, they ended up surrendering. Like, I think they were planning on doing this in September, and they surrendered in August.
Yeah, of 1945.
There was a lot of just bad things that happened.
Like, very bad.
In World War II, especially. Like, I mean, it's so bad that some people forget the details of World War I because there was so much that happened and I think just to such a wide variety of people, you know, because you had everything that was going on in Germany, but then you had everything that was going on with America and Japan, and then you had, I mean, there's just so much, and it's just, and to this day, we're seeing effects of it still, so
Well,
it's
that's
just terrible.
Well, because a lot of people are still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the generations.
Yeah. That's one of the points that I wanted to talk about is until we started looking into Shiro Ishii, like he had his own concentration camp too. You just don't really hear about it.
And it's not a popular name at all.
But obviously Hitler did go way more extreme. And so maybe Shiro Ishii's name and his experiments kind of got swept under the rug more or less because it wasn't as extreme as what Hitler and Nazi Germany was doing in all of their concentration camps. But how did we just not talk about this?
It was as extreme, just maybe less people, less victims. Than
There you go.
I think it's not as popular because the United States granted them war crimes immunity in exchange for their information.
That's true.
That too.
So I mean, like, you're not gonna write a book about someone you gave war crime immunity to,
right?
That's true. Makes us look bad.
I mean, it was all bad.
It was all terrible.
It was all terrible.
Humans are icky.
I mean, and that information was valuable, is valuable.
Yeah. So I wrote down that there's 3,000 to 12,000 people killed under Ishii's efforts, and that's a very big number difference. I don't know how many people he really did kill.
Probably, well, any is too many.
Yeah, it was definitely in the thousands. So in November 10th, 1945, Ishii ended up holding his own funeral in an attempt to escape being handed over for his war crimes.
What?
Mm-hmm. So World War II's over. Staging his own death did not work. So by May 3rd, 1946, convictions on Japan's war criminals begin. But like we just said, the U.S. debated and granted unity to Ishii and his Unit 731 to obtain the data and results of Ishii's experiments.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so was it just the U.S. that granted unity, or like League of Nations, like the whole world?
I have that he was arrested by the United States during the occupation of Japan at the end of World War II, and along with other leaders was supposed to be thoroughly interrogated by Soviet authorities, but instead Ishii and his team managed to negotiate and receive immunity in 1946 from Japanese war crimes prosecution before the Tokyo Tribunal in exchange for their full disclosure. Although the Soviet authorities wished the prosecutions to take place, the United States objected after the reports of investigating U.S. microbiologists. So, yeah, I mean, just in general, I think he's
granted immunity.
He's never charged.
Yeah.
Nope.
So whatever way that comes to fruition, he's never charged at all.
Unity, not immunity.
So he didn't pull a...
What'd you say?
I said unity, not immunity.
So he didn't pull a Mengele. He didn't go to Brazil and...
No, he just negotiated his way out of it in exchange for all of his information, which, I mean, is really
a lot
valuable.
of that information is pretty valuable. I mean, there was a lot of that information that came out of World War II that was super valuable.
Yeah.
From this all the way to what does a baby look like every month, like, or every week. And unfortunately, that's just what happened.
Well, and then there's like a bunch of theories about what happened to him. Where did he go? His whereabouts are unaccounted for. Some people say he went to Cambridge and was a biology professor and advised in Maryland, Washington, D.C.
So nobody knows what happened to him after all of this.
Well, eventually he dies, but like he was missing for a significant amount of time.
Wow. They probably had some sort of identity protection or something.
Some people say he stayed in Japan and opened a clinic.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that part I am not sure on, but
so don't know. But he did keep a diary. He didn't write anything about his war crimes with Unit 731.
Really? So that was all...
So who knows what he wrote about? I'm like, I feel like you spent most of your time doing that.
Yeah, so maybe the documentation or lack of is another reason why he's not talked about as much.
But he didn't live very long after that.
No.
I mean, would you messing with biological warfare day in and day out?
I think he was lucky.
Yeah.
He ended up with cancer.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
He did. So yeah, their findings led to revolutionizing vaccines and treatments. And it was October 9th, 1959, at age 67, that he ends up dying of throat cancer. So he was incredibly intelligent, but instead of using his intelligence and studies and power, his position for good, he used it in a terrible way.
I wonder... because I haven't done much research into this, right? I just kind of know like history here and there about these events, but like I wonder how much of that was individual like intention and belief, and how much of it was government ran, and how much of it was Germany paying
sprinkle
Japan.
some here and there.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a combination of all of it, but
yeah, his daughter said that up until he died, that he was still a student of medicine. He was taking notes on his own physical condition, and she said that right before he died, he asked to be baptized by the Catholic Church and took the name Joseph and seemed to be relieved that it was all over.
Yeah, so that makes me wonder, like, how much of it was, government-funded science versus, like, murderous intentions,
Well, he clearly had a lot weighing on his conscience.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You think?
I think.
Well, I guess wanting to be baptized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You killed, but with
not
his
intentionally.
Yeah, but you're still responsible for those deaths, and I think maybe once you're out of the hype of war, you frame things differently and you think about things differently when it's no longer fight or flight.
In the moment, sure.
I'm sure there was a lot of PTSD.
Yeah, well, and a lot of it was government funded because there was that treaty, and then he went and did his research for 2 years to see if other countries were following this treaty. And once he came back to Japan, it was like, no one else is following this. Like, we should be able to, engage in biological warfare and disease and stuff. And then that's when the government was like, okay, we're going to give you all of this money to do all this experimenting and all this nasty stuff.
Terrible.
So humans are gross, and they do terrible things for the planet in means of war.
They do.
Just dumping toxic sludge into a river. What about the plants and the animals in that area?
I mean, I hope he feels bad.
Well, yeah, I would hope so.
I mean, I hope he felt bad before he died.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's just one of those things where, and not to justify what he did whatsoever.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not
think
trying to look
that's just
for
a combination of things that happened and the perfect storm. I mean, he totally had the choice not to do any of that, but he was so focused on, his bacteria pets and how they, like, he was, I think he was obsessed.
Yeah. Well, and when you get that way, like, manipulation's super easy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look what happened in Germany, right? Like, even crazier stuff made people go mad, it's just, unfortunate.
Definitely manipulative, because even in school with his teachers and professors and stuff, he knew how to get in good with them. He didn't care one way or the next about what his
students or peers thought. Yeah.
So he was just going to get what he wanted, no matter what way.
Yeah, which stemmed from an early age of coming from a wealthy family that had a lot of dominance in their little town, their little village that they were in, and so.
Well, dang.
That was Shiro Ishii.
Heavy.
Yeah,
that was heavy.
Covered a lot.
Yeah.
I know when there's more.
There's so much more detail in him, but yeah, that's definitely the gist of it. What were you saying about him being a Cancer?
Oh, that he's compassionate, nurturing.
No.
Towards his bacteria.
Towards his bacteria pets.
Yeah.
Moody, snappy.
That stuff, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Crazy.
Well, dang, guys. I hope that now you're going to have to go for a jog and release some endorphins and think about something else.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
It's heavy stuff.
I mean, it's not a lighthearted podcast. We're always talking about something heavy, but when you're talking about, I think it gets lost on us when we're talking about tens of thousands of people. Those are single individual people. So when you think about it from that perspective, it's just like so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the same amount of people in my hometown, like entire hometowns of people just
no regard for life. And I'm sure part of him thought he's doing this for greater good, but when you're doing, like, when it's the science part, when you're doing it to weaponize it, like, you've lost me. Like, you lost me anyway, but I get, we only get further in science by doing science, but that's why there are ethics now.
There are ethics. I was just going to say, like,
and
even on animal testing and stuff, like, there are ethics.
As there should be.
Yeah. Well, even like Dr. Kevorkian wanted to do experiments on prisoners who were going to be in prison for the rest of their life or something. So he was focusing more on, you know, the not so good people in society. But yeah, this guy is just like anyone and everyone, all of these
I mean,
war
you poured
prisoners.
toxic sludge full of, what was it?
Typhoid?
Typhoid in
Yeah.
a river?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then, where does that stop if you guys are,
Exactly.
like, how do you stop the spread of that? That's, like,
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. I mean,
how long does it live on the surface?
Well,
That's-
yeah.
yeah.
And he killed his own men by doing it.
Mhm.
So,
well, and that's the other thing, like with the flea bombs and stuff with the bubonic plague, like there were teams that transported that. Like
yeah.
there had to have been broken bombs on
Oh, yeah.
the craft. Like you're not moving millions of fleas, you know, without
Because they're tiny.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not staying contained very
correct.
well.
Yeah, especially, I mean, yeah, you're not doing that without losing some of your people or getting the bubonic plague. And
Yeah. Some of their missions they definitely knew were suicide missions that they weren't going to be coming back from, or at least coming
Yeah.
back safely
Healthy.
from healthy. Yeah.
but I'm sure
war
the
is
people
so-
transporting that didn't know that, or maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, honestly, probably not. Because in the military, when you're a certain rank, you just do what you're told. You're told specifically not to think for yourself, not to take initiative, to do as you're told and not question.
Yeah.
But I guess when you sign up for the government, they own you.
Yeah.
But Shiro Ishii, wow.
Mm-hmm. All
I
right.
learned so much. As much information as he's brought to the table. Wow.
I know. It's one of those terrible things. Should we end on a positive?
We will end on a
Anyone
positive.
Got anything positive to talk about?
It's a new year.
It is not negative 40 degrees with the wind chill
Yeah.
today.
For real.
That was so brutal. Like sometimes Christmas can be 60 degrees.
It's been so
Some-
mild lately.
Yeah.
It has.
It's like 30 degrees today. It's
not
wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody who survived the treacherous cold in the Midwest.
God, it was so
Like,
bad.
So wild.
Throughout the U.S., so wasn't it like everywhere there was just a bunch of cold fronts?
I mean, it went through
For
the
the most
U.S.,
part?
but like definitely the Midwest
Oh,
got
yeah.
hit the hardest as far as temps.
The last time it was that cold, none of us at this table were alive.
Wow.
True.
So,
I believe it.
so it's 30 degrees today, and I'll take it. It's
Yeah.
basically a heat wave.
It it feels good.
And the sun is shining.
Yeah. The
not
snow
windy.
is melting.
It's not windy. That's a
Yeah.
big difference.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Lovely. All right. Who are we talking about next, Alicia?
Amelia Dyer.
Mm-hmm. Con artist and infant killer. We're going back to England.
Yes. So if you're not, we'll give another warning, but if you don't want to hear about the babies, skip the next episode.
Yes.
All right. Well, don't do what Shiro Ishii did.
Definitely not.
I mean, promote science, but safely.
Safe science.
Ethics.
Murder.
Thank you for listening to Healthcare Horrors, brought to you by Atlas MedStaff. Just a reminder, we are not healthcare professionals. We are just fans of true crime, talking about some of history's darkest moments in healthcare. Stay tuned, stay healthy, and stay safe.